today, and we're going to be talking about specific use cases of the options market, right? So if VWAP is volume weighted average price, what is VPOC? Now VPOC is simply the volume point of control, or in short, the area where the largest concentration of volume is on a volume profile chart. So there is a distinction we make at VTrender when it comes to volume. 95% of traders, when they look at volume below the price bar. Okay. At VTrender, what we do is we focus on volume right next to the price bar, and we also focus on today, and we're going to be talking about specific use cases of the options market, right? So if VWAP is volume weighted average price, what is VPOC? Now VPOC is simply the volume point of control, or in short, the area where the largest concentration of volume is on a volume profile chart. So there is a distinction we make at VTrender when it comes to volume. 95% of traders, when they look at volume below the price bar. Okay. At VTrender, what we do is we focus on volume right next to the price bar, and we also focus on
Good evening, everyone. Am I audible? A quick sound check. Great. So here we are on a Monday evening, and we had a roller coaster of a day today. And what was expected to be a easy move on the upside when we opened higher turned out to be a neutral day in both Nifty as well as Banknifty. So before coming to what happened today, let us go through our ritual of doing the analysis of previous week and what we have in the report which was published yesterday, and then we'll come to what happened today both in spot as well as futures. So the weekly report is posted on the website, and we start with what had happened in the previous week. The previous week's profile was a neutral one in Nifty spot, and value was completely higher. But what we had done is we had closed below the value area low of the weekly profile, and we have left an initiative selling tail at new all-time highs as closed below. So immediate support would be the FA of 24504, below which we are looking for this extension handle of 24461, and a drop to 24296, which was the weekly VPOC. So this was what was given in the when we started the previous week, and we discussed about this on last Monday. So we also discussed what happened on Monday, that how we opened lower, we got rejected at that 7-day composite value area high on daily, and then made a P-shaped profile. But we stopped short of the POC. So we were telling below the POC, we cannot be bullish. So we had to get above this POC to be bullish in Nifty spot. So what happened on the budget day was we opened in range and we made a trending move lower. So in the trending move lower, what we did was we swiped through this weekly value, the old weekly value breaking below this VPOC of 24296, and then we also went on to tag the lows of this previous weekly value. What I'll do is I'll just open the spot chart and we will see how it was, how we took support first at the composite and then the same composite we broke. So this is the two composites which we are talking about. So this was the first 7-day composite where we took support on 22nd of July, which was last Monday. We had spoken about this in our evening session also. And we said if we break below this, there is a very good chance of 80% rule being done in this. So what we did on the budget day is we went on to open in this range. We were below the previous week's value and POC. And then we went on to make range extensions lower. We negated this buying tail of Monday. And then we made this 80% rule not only in this 7-day composite, but also in this 3-day composite from 28th June to 2nd July. So you can see how the lows of last week were matching right with that value area low of this 3-day composite, which was at 24074. This is the value area high which is showing. The value area low was 24074 and last week's high was right there. And what we did in that in the juncture where we made that low on Tuesday last week was we left a long initiative buying, long responsive buying tail. You can see this G period tail was a long one. It was almost at 200.1, I think, 24275 to 24075. So we had a huge responsive selling buying tail, and they went on to get back to that 24540 level. So although value wise we were overlapping value, but we had left some cue that there is demand coming back. Albeit this was responsive in nature, because we tagged these lows, we got some good aggressive demand coming back and pushing it back to the value area low of the previous week. After which what we did was we formed a nice inside bar, because this imbalance led to a balance, and we formed this 2-day composite, and then we again made an attempt to move away from this 2-day balance by opening lower, and we tested this responsive buying tail. So in the test of this responsive buying tail, what we did was we left an initiative buying tail here. So we have this A period tail which complemented this responsive buying tail. So this is what we look at in order flow charts as an RB plus IB pattern, and this is coming to us on a daily chart. So this is definitely telling us a change of swing. So RB plus IB is a start of a new trend, and this is what happened. And we went on to form this double distribution trend day on Thursday, where we got back into this 2-day value. Although we stopped just short of this POC of 24440, it was still a bullish day where we had made multiple range extensions to the upside. And then what happened on Friday was we opened with the open drive up, and went on to make a huge range of 450 points and making new all-time highs. We just swiped through the previous week's value, left extension handles, and made new highs of 24861. So the weekly report, what was mentioned was this week was the week which went past was a neutral extreme profile to the upside. You can see how we have a buying tail at the bottom, and then we have extension handles on the upside with a nice balanced profile in the middle. So what does the neutral extreme, what was the references which we had from the neutral extreme? The references we had was the value definitely was a balanced one, so that would have been zone to watch, but the immediate reference was the extension handles of 24721, 24656 and 24610. Whereas on the downside we have this 24595, which is the neutral extreme reference as the swing support. And on the upside, if we continue above this neutral extreme profile, we are looking for these levels 25032, 25156 and 25218. And we have the hypos which were given for the week So these hypos, based on these hypos, we were supposed to look at the auction behavior today and take some good setups which are coming happening. So I'll come to this hypos and what happened today in a bit, after we finish with the Bank Nifty spot report. So Bank Nifty was a neutral center profile last week where the range was very narrow. So if we open the weekly profile chart of Bank Nifty, there was a very good chance of how we need to look for market profile to tell us when we can expect a trending move. So this is the profile of the week which ended on 19th of July. So you can see how the range and the value both were inside the previous week's range and value. So this kind of a profile is what a market profiler looks for in and looks for and is fully alert in the next coming sessions, because we know this kind of a profile can give way to a good trending move, and the bigger the balance is, the higher the range you can expect when the imbalance starts. So that is what happened last week. When we opened in Bank Nifty, we opened with a similar P-shape profile, which we discussed about in the Monday session at 5 p.m. last week. And we saw how we went on to tag that VPOC, but we are not weekly POC of 52408, but we are not able to close above it. And we had left similar highs of 52427. So what happened the next day, the budget day, was we made a lookup above these highs, and in that lookup we made new highs for the week at 52547, but again we could not sustain and we got rejected, and that rejection gave way to a trending move lower. And the selling tail, I will open the profile chart, daily profile chart, and show you how the references were marked. So this is that profile of 23rd, the budget day. You can see how the high of D period stalled right at these poor highs of Monday, and we left an initiative selling tail right at that reference. So when we leave, when this gets rejected, when we see rejection from a POC, a weekly POC, you know that the move is to the opposite direction. And we went on to make a very good trending move down, and Bank Nifty was the weaker of the both, and it was coming off a balance, and it was coming off a multi-week balance. So we could have expected when the imbalance started that it can be a big one, and we could see how in Bank Nifty the G period did not end the downside. In fact, we made lower lows in the hedge, and then we made similar lows in I. So these similar lows was telling us that the lows are not secure. In Nifty spot, we saw a nice 200 point responsive buying tail, which was telling that the lows are secure. In Bank Nifty, there was no such signal. And although the poor lows suggested that the inventory is gone too short, and we got that bounce higher to this 52086 level, overall the PLR, the path of least resistance, was lower to the downside. And the next day, we can see how we made poor highs again, which indicated no upside momentum in Bank Nifty. And then we went on to break these lows, the poor lows of 23rd, and continued to probe lower till the G period, where we hit one weekly extension handle. I'll come to the weekly chart and show that, and continued this down move on the 25th also, where the seaside maybe paused, made a pause to the down move, and then we had a nice little balance 313 profile, but it was still not telling us that the downside is done, because again we had a seaside as a low which we cannot trust. So then the next day what we did was on 26th we opened lower, although in futures we did not break the lows of previous session. In spot we made this lower low, and why it was important was because in spot we had one important extension handle from the 18th of June on the weekly chart, which was at 50441, and that reference was also given in the hypos. So here you can see my cursor where it is going. This 50441 was the closing extension handle of on 18th of June, from where we started a new imbalance, because the next day we opened higher, we left an initiative tail, and we left another extension handle here at 5594. So both of these references were given in the hypos of last week, and when they got uh, tested, and on Thursday we left that. On Thursday, when we left this initiative buying tail, this was telling us that now we have tested once old buyer zone, and from there we have left a fresh initiative buying tail. So this was giving us that signal which we already got in Nifty on Thursday. Banknifty gave it later, and Banknifty had more downside to complete. So once it left this AP rate buying tail, then it was a clear one time frame trending move on the upside for the rest of the day on Friday. We made a trend day up where we made higher highs in L and M also, which was not seen in the futures chart. In the futures chart, I think the JTPO was the high, after which we did not make new highs. But in spot, we went on to make higher highs in L and M, which was telling us that this imbalance has a very good chance of continuing in the coming week, which was today. So in the report, what we mentioned was the weekly profile is an elongated 2109 point range one, which was not totally unexpected given the multi-week balance it was forming and the narrow 636 point range we had last week. So now we have a neutral extreme one to the downside with overlapping to lower value. So this was the value area low of current week, and we have these HVNs at 51078 and 5850, which will act as support. And the auction will need to sustain above this halfback of 51361 and the neutral extreme reference of 51784 for a probe higher towards the trend day VPOC of 52195. So this was our probe, and this was our expectation from this week, and this is what happened today. You can see these hypos which were given, how we opened above these levels and went on to tag all of these hypos in today's session itself. In fact, we finished all of them in inside the G period. So once we hit the last objective, that is where the Bank Nifty stalled and it made a reversal. I'll come to today's chart and we'll discuss that as well. And we'll also discuss why Bank Nifty is actually the weaker of the both. Because if I show you the weekly chart, let's start with the Nifty. So the Nifty weekly chart, we can see we were at all-time highs and we have negated this with a neutral extreme profile up. So the Nifty was the bullish, very bullish chart, uh, even on the weekly time frame, because we have closed around the all-time highs. In fact, the Friday close was a new all-time high close, because the last time we made that highs, we closed much below that level. So what we have done today is we opened higher, we continued that imbalance, but we did not find any new buyers. So we can see how we left that AP rate selling tail at the top, which was telling us that the auction may revisit the references which we have given in the report on the downside. But what we did was we made the typical C period, which we call the Dhoka period, and that immediately resulted in a fresh move bounce higher. So this was just that the sellers were not able to do a good job here, which gave us this bounce. But again, the buyers also failed to uh, take advantage of this situation, because we can see how E and F have both stalled at the same level. We stopped right at that big round number of 25,000. 24999 was the high in both E and F. So when this was stalling, it was very clear that the auction is not ready to take this level out, at least for today. So from here, what we did was we went on to probe lower and we went on to test that previous day's POC, which has been given in the hypos of 24787. So here again we have left a small responsive buying tail. If you see the daily chart, because this is as good as the daily chart, we did make new lows in the K, but we have kind of left a single TPO at that YPOC junction. So for tomorrow, I'll just switch this to the spot daily chart. So for tomorrow, we have this VPOC, which will be our reference. And because we have a long trend day as our reference for on the downside, so below two, we will be weak below, only below 24787 tomorrow. Below this, what will be the references? It will be this extension handle, which is being given in the report. They will more or less be the same hypos because these hypos have not been tagged. 721 extension handle, 656 is an extension handle. This 656 is an important reference because this is also the value area high of this previous week. This one. So when we are leaving an extension handle or a important reference at a prior market profile zone, it gives us that extra bit of confirmation that this is a strong level and it will need to hold. So which is why this 25656 would be one important reference, not just for the remainder of July, but also as we get into August. So on the downside, these will be our references, and on the upside, what we have done today is made a neutral day, and so we will need to stay above this 24845 reference and then scale above this POC of 24885. So on the upside, this MTPO high and this POC would be our immediate references, and then this is the scene of crime from today, the FTPO halfback 24939, which we will have to take out. So we will have these hypos updated in the chart, but as of today's auction, only thing we can see is the YPOC, the Friday's POC, which was the trend day POC, has been defended for now. So as long as we are above this, we can expect the upside to continue. We will need to first open above this 24845 level, then take out this 24885, and finally 24939 and this 25,000 mark. So this is how we are placed for tomorrow. On the downside, if we sustain below this POC, then it will be uh, weakness, that will show weakness in Nifty, and we should be testing these trend day references of this Friday's profile. So that is as far as the Nifty spot is concerned. So we will update the hypos here end of day today, so you will have them ready for tomorrow's session and you can accordingly look to trade the setups. So coming to the Banknifty spot. So what have we done in Banknifty? If you see the weekly profile, we have just kind of filled up the previous week's value. And why are we doing this? Because previous week was a huge 2000.1, and which is why the auction needs to fill up that zone. That is the reason what we saw, that swift move on the upside and then again an equally swift move on the downside, and that from the high to low move happened in the space of 1 hour, because we made the high in the FTPO and then we went on to make a low which was 1150 points lower inside the next 30 minutes. So what we are doing is we are filling up this zone, and we can expect this to continue for a couple of more sessions before the auction deems that this zone is now fully tested, and then it is ready to move away from this zone. So as you can see how we tested, we hit this weekly POC from last week 52249, but have left a responsive selling tail. So when this is rejection, this is nothing but rejection. So once we are rejecting this, it is clearly telling us that the direction is now changed to the downside. And more confirmation came when the one time frame up which was happening in Bank Nifty stopped when F made lower lows, and which was followed by G also. So this is how we need to look for in market profile. And if I take you to the daily chart of Bank Nifty, I'll just show you what I had done, because the first part of July we were forming a nice balanced profile in Bank Nifty. So once we got that move on 23rd of July because of that budget day and the trend day, what the trend day did was it moved away from this value. It closed around the lows. So this is when I made this 12-day composite from 5th of July to 23rd of July. You can see this, and I had marked this as my reference. So 52199 was the value area low of this composite, and 52195 was also the VPOC from that 23rd of July. So, and this 52284 was my VPOC from this composite, which was one important objective if the Bank Nifty has to uh, continue higher. So this is what was given in the hypos also. You can see in the Bank Nifty hypos for today, we have this 12-day VPOC as our final objective. So this is where we stopped today, and this is what where the highs were made. And although it was looking like it will be a trend day up, it stopped right there, and it left a responsive selling tail. And from where we saw a big liquidation move happening, and we went on to get back into this Friday's profile. But what we have done is we have got rejected from this Friday's profile. This key period halfback of 51196 was where we made the lows today. And we have kind of left a small tail at the previous day's uh, range. So now going forward, what will be the levels to watch in Bank Nifty? So Bank Nifty, first thing would be we will have to, and you can see how the levels will overlap in Bank Nifty. We had this reference of 51264 as our support, the first support, the MTPO low. And today, if you see, the buying tail has come right at that level. This K period low is right at 51264. So 51264 remains our support on the downside, and below which we have this HTPO halfback from the trend day of 51111. So these two would be the support zones for tomorrow, 51264 and 51111. And then on the upside, we will have to get above this MTPO high, and then this POC and this pullback high, which we have at 51618. So once we get above this uh, pullback high of 51618, our next objective would be this halfback. 51784 was one important reference we had mentioned in the weekly report, because it is the neutral extreme zone. So here you can see neutral extreme reference of 51784. So it is important for Bank Nifty on a daily basis to close above that reference for it to remain bullish for this week. So what we did today was we did go get above that reference. We went on to hit that two VPOCs which were there. So whenever the auction has an imbalance, the objective will always be the VPOCs it has. So 52195 was the VPOC from 23rd, and then 52284 was that 12-day VPOC. So these two got hit, and where we stalled the auction and reversed. And in the reversal, it went on to negate whatever bullish references it had left. And on the way down, we have this scene of crime of 52102, which will be the reference. And then we have this IBH 51954, where because there we had left an extension handle when we made a higher high in D. So 51954 and 52102 would be the upside references in Bank Nifty spot above this halfback of 51768 for tomorrow and Wednesday's monthly expiry. So on the downside, we break below this 51264 and negate this 51111. We are looking to test these buy side extension handles, and finally this VPOC from Friday at 70750. So this is how we are placed in spot in Bank Nifty, and it is set up for a good monthly expiry in both. And we will need to see after the neutral day today how the auction plays out tomorrow. So coming to the end of the spot, let's have a quick look at what we did in the futures today. So this is the Nifty futures chart. The August futures is on your left with the order flow chart on the right. I have the 15-minute order flow so that we can have a quick review of what happened today and accordingly look for what are the signs we need to see to change the bias to long, from long to short and short to long, because that happened today couple of times. So you can see the open was higher in Nifty, but we did not get any fresh demand. So I'll just compare this first 15-minute open of today to what had happened on Friday. So you can make out how it was in complete contrast. Although the volumes were better than average, we had clocked 35,000 contracts, but the opening bar was more like a IS, because it was a red bar and the POC was right in the middle and we had closed around the lower bracket. And if I compare this bar with what happened at 9:15 on Friday, where we got that huge open test drive up and there was no looking back. So you can see how it is a exact replica on the opposite side of what we saw today. So this bar is a green bar with the POC in the middle with and a close around the highs. And we remained above this POC in the coming bar and stayed above VWAP. So this is why we could, and we can see a lot of greens, good aggressive greens on the order flow chart. So this was a good sign that we need to get into longs in Nifty futures. And it was backed up by more IBs for the rest of the day. And today what happened, although we continued that imbalance, today's opening 15-minute bar was in complete contrast. So we made the high in the opening minute and then we probe lower, and then we had the POC in the middle. The next bar remained below this POC and we remained below VWAP. So we were expecting more downside. We were expecting this POC to be tagged of 24859, but what we got was the typical seaside move, and that seaside stalled right at this HVN of 24925. So this was not giving a gate pass, and from here we went on to make new highs, and we in fact confirmed a failed auction at this 24921 level. So, but again, what we did on the upside was, once we made those highs in the E period, there was no follow through. So once we make the range extension, the IBH becomes our first support. And at IBH, if we are looking, if we are not able to sustain above IBH, that is the first warning signal that the range extension is not a good one. And then definitely the VWAP of the day would be that final bell which rings, because if the VWAP is broken, then the all bullish signs have gone. And in fact, VWAP breaking of day like this, which had an FA at lows, was telling us that the buyers have made a mess of the advantage and they have handed it back to the sellers. And this particular bar was very clearly telling us that new lows are coming in because we have broken VWAP. And that is what is exactly happened. We went on to make new lows and we tagged this VPOC of 859 also. And you can see how once we broke below VWAP, we remained below VWAP all through, and we got more IS bars till the time that objective was not hit. Once we hit that objective, we got this big RB bar and we got this stuck seller at the lows, which was telling us maybe they were late to the party, or maybe that was the last of the weak longs which had gotten, and they are now out of the auction. So this is where the auction ended the downside, after which it remained in a narrow range balance for the rest of the day. And that is the reason we have a neutral center kind of a profile, because although we are close near the IBL, we have formed a small buying tail at the lows, which has defended this POC. We saw the same thing in spot. So this POC would be our reference in Nifty futures also for tomorrow. And on the upside, we will need to remain above this VWAP of 24950 and then climb back higher to repair these similar highs. So in order flow, we can watch the order flow on any time frame, and whenever we are getting an IB or whenever we are getting a bullish candle, once that bar gets negated, then the reason for having that bullishness or that bias is changed. So which is why immediately the order flow tells us when to reverse our bias. So a quick look at what happened in Bank Nifty futures before we can wind up. and have a Q&A session. So this is the Bank Nifty futures chart on the left and the order flow chart on the right. So Bank Nifty, you can see we had formed a trend day on Friday, and then we opened higher. And when we opened higher, it was looking as if it is going to be a drive up because of this big range we made. Immediately we went on to jump to that 51948 level, and 51960 reference was one important selling side reference which we were having all of last week, especially after the budget day. So budget day we did see some selling coming in from that time that 51960 broke, and on 24th we made a high right there. In fact, we made similar highs in the initial balance right there. So that is where we were stalling in the IB at the open. But you can see the opening order flow chart on the right, how we have just swiped through this zone, and we were staying above this POC of 51740, which was our reference. We had one good big buyer here, and the reason we were staying above that was the cause was good signal that we can expect more upside in Bank Nifty. So this was holding even in the C side when we formed an inside bar. This level held. We made a low of 71517 and then 51784, 51757 and 784. And here you can see we got an RB bar with a 678 buyer. So this is where we were looking good for that upside move, and we got that right in the D period where we left this extension handle at this 51960, which we was a selling side level for us to track. And this was very clearly telling us that now the PLR has changed to the upside. And what we did was we went on to complement this IB with another IB, and we went on to tag this anchored VWAP from 4th of July. 4th of July is where we made that all-time high in Bank Nifty futures, and we have an anchored VWAP from there. Today was the first day where we have tagged the anchored VWAP of that day. So once we got about this with an IB, so you can see how when we dipped in these bars, it was holding this 52160 level. It has come down to 52142 today, but yesterday the close reference was 52167 for us, and that level was holding. We have this big 1035 green right there, and we were holding this zone. So this is what was keeping us bullish. But then what happened was, once we got into this 23rd, the budget day profile, we kind of met with more sell side references. So here, when we made this high of 52379, we left an RS, but here it was still looking as if it would be only profit booking. But the thing that the PLR had changed came when we broke below these 52160 level, and we broke that with zeros in the order flow. So when you have so many zeros in the order flow, it is telling that it is broken very effectively, and you can expect more downside. This is more of the late longs getting stuck and the inventory being too long, which is causing this deep cut. And you can see how we broke below VWAP in this bar and continued to drive lower. In fact, as I was mentioning, in just these are 15-minute bars, so you can see how we made the high of 52379 at 11:45 and went on to make this low of 51247 in the space of 45 minutes. So this is where we held the downside. On the profile, you can see we entered this range and we stopped right at this POC. The low of today was 51240, and you can see this POC of Friday is at 51230. So again, that is the reason we give lot of importance to POCs and VWAPs, especially of trend days and important neutral extreme profiles, which and other important days where we have got an initiative buy or sell side signal. So here, when we were holding that POC, it was clear that the downside is done for the day, and after which we just remained in the narrow range balance below VWAP and continued to build volumes. We made couple of attempts more to probe lower in the K period and the L period, but both those attempts we made only higher lows. We could not break this POC, and we have kind of formed some good volumes at this 51390 level, which is a HVN for today and where we have closed. and which will be the opening reference for tomorrow. So if we stay below this 51390, we would be weak, and the immediate support would be this 51230 level, a break of which can give us this test of the trend day VWAP of 51039. On the upside, we will have to take off this pullback high of 51565 and then look for this VWAP from today and this POC tag. And above the POC, then we have these scene of crimes of today. The 51960 now again is a sell side reference because the seller has again taken control over that zone. And then finally this anchored VWAP, which had been tested but we have closed below it. So this is how we are placed in Bank Nifty futures, and it is all set up for a good monthly expiry. To be reminded, the Bank Nifty monthly July expiry is still not done. It is on the last day of the month, so we are yet to see what happens in the August. In Nifty, the August series was already started from last Friday. We already have couple of session in it, but in Bank Nifty, it will start only on Thursday. So this is still what we are seeing in Bank Nifty is mostly what has happened in the month of July, which has been a bearish month for Bank Nifty. So which is why we can understand that the up move is not holding and we are immediately getting this reversal which we saw today. So we will need to see how we close this month, and from there we will have some more important cues to carry forward for the month of August. So that is it for today, guys. Let us see how we shape up the next 2 days and then how we start the month of August. And in case you have any queries, you can please feel free to post them in the chat box here. So the levels which I have mentioned both in spot as well as futures will get updated in the report, and the report will be there for all to see in the forum, under the forum section on the website. So you can make use of those levels for tomorrow's auction. So that's it, guys. In case there are no queries, let us wind up the session today. There is one question from Prem Kumar who asks, can we trade on the basis of VWAP? We do not trade blindly on the basis of VWAP, and we have not all days VWAP are the same. VWAP are important of specific days. For example, Friday was a trend day, so VWAP of that day would be an important one. Same thing in the weekly profile. Bank Nifty weekly profile was a neutral extreme to the downside. So there we look at the weekly VWAP and take that as our reference. So we also carry forward the monthly series VWAP for the next month. So what happened? I missed one point in Bank Nifty spot, along with that 5441 buying extension handle. What we had done in the down move in last week was tested the June series VWAP, which was at 5519. So 5519, once it got tested and once we defended that VWAP, it was very clear that the buyers are holding that zone. So VWAP, as I said, VWAP of certain days and then weekly time frame and monthly time frame are important. So there we see what the auction does and we take cues from order flow as per what signals we are getting from order flow and accordingly take decisions, trade setups. Yes, you can use VWAP on any time frame. The concept work on all the time frames. So 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 3 minutes, 30 minutes, all of them they equally work fine. This kind of a session we cannot have daily because it is too extensive, and but we always want to help. That is the reason we have these reports which are put out daily. You can go to the forum section. We have the futures daily report published where we discuss about the daily levels and we give the business areas for the next session. And in spot also the hypos are updated every day. So we the it is the agenda is definitely to reach out and help as much as we can. That is the reason we have these reports which are updated on the daily basis. So thank you guys. Thank you for joining in, and let us all hope for a good monthly settlement in spot for both Nifty and Bank Nifty, and look forward to keep learning and growing together and make use of this wonderful features we have at the VTrender chart section. Thank you guys, and let us catch up for the next session on Thursday or next Monday. Winding up for today. Thank you.